Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa and another video on the Nordschleife challenge. Thank you very much for joining me in today's video, and today, as you can see on screen, we are going to be taking a look at the Audi Sport Quattro. Not any other Quattro, but specifically the Sport Quattro. Shorter wheelbase, slightly more aggressive, bit more aero, some more power, and of course the base for the famous Group B Sport Quattro rally cars. So last week we had a Mazda RX-7 FD Spirit R Type A, mouthful of a name, that did an 8 minutes 15. That car had 276 brake horsepower, was twin rotor, twin turbo, or should I say bi-turbo or twin turbo, because it's not really two turbos in parallel. As I said, they were in sequential, and that managed to do an 8 minutes 15, as I said, and the 276 brake horsepower was really not a true reading of those. So we were looking at around 300, 310, maybe 320. Well, this car here, from its inline 5 engine, so we've gone from a rotary engine, which is very, very rare, to an inline 5 engine, which is not quite as rare, but is still very, very rare. Not many cars have an inline 5 engine. So this inline 5 engine produces 306 brake horsepower, so it is in that range, and 258 foot-pounds of torque, or 350 newton meters if you want to be metric. This is an all-wheel drive as opposed to the Mazda, which was a rear-wheel drive. Of course, all-wheel drive, that's what the Quattro is all about. 5-speed manual gearbox, meaning it's a proper driver's car. It has a top speed claimed of 155 miles per hour. Sounds like a German limiter to me. 0 to 60 in about 4.7 seconds, and the tyres on this car, which is going to be really important of course around the track, all around 235 50 R15s. Curb weights for the vehicle is approximately 1.3 tons. Where am I expecting this car to be? Obviously there is a massive history around this car. It's an inline 5, so it is quite a particular car to me, because my car also has an inline 5 engine. So very few cars, as I said, had it. I think there was some Volvos, a couple of Volvos, the Ford Focus, ST and RS Mark II, this Audi, the TTRS, the RS3, one variant of it. I'm not sure if they've got it anymore. The Hyundai Coupe, the Land Rover, was it TD5? Was it? I think that's what it was called. And I think a couple of other cars. I think was there an Alfa Romeo that had it at one point? No, I don't think so. There was another car that certainly had an inline 5 engine, but that is about it. As I said, I could probably name all the cars that had an inline 5 engine, whilst the only other engine I could do for that would probably be something like the W12s, or W16s, and the rotaries. They're the only other cars I could think of that I could probably name the exact models that had that. So where do I think this is going to go? Because if you look at the timesheet there, 8 minutes 15 is probably around the target. However, because it's a 4-wheel drive, I'm expecting this to be very good around the corners, though it is an Audi, so I'm expecting it to be understeery around the corners. I suppose there's only one way to find out. Well, before I do that, I am going to do a couple of Patreon practice laps, so if you want to be involved in that, do go support me on Patreon, and you'll be able to see some of those practice laps as I upload them. But if not, and by all means that's completely fine, make sure you stay tuned to see me actually drive this car, get a couple of proper laps in on street tyres, again with no assists, just like the rules of the competition state, and let's see exactly where we can fit this. I've got a feeling this is going to be definitely vying for 3rd place, but let me know in the comments box what you think. restarted this one from the Patreon, I've actually recorded the two laps of actual footage, and then I've gone back 3 laps, sorry, of actual footage, and now I've gone back and done it again. But I've changed something with this car. I've actually changed the tyre pressures because when driving this, I found that this car was, well, I'll be honest, those of you who are patrons, you'll probably see me complaining about this in the video, but this car felt really bad, and I said I'm not allowed to really change anything in the car. Tyre pressures is something that I am allowed to change. It's not something that I normally have to change, but something felt really bad with the suspension geometry on this car. It just felt really, everything felt too soft, but maybe it wasn't really soft. I think it was just too bouncy. Everything felt like it was bouncing around a bit, so it felt like the suspension was too soft and it was rebounding, and it just was really bad. But I know this car's supposed to be better than that. I know for a fact that all the reviews I've read of this car talk about how good the car is. So why is it that it was that bad? I'm not even going to tell you the lap time. It'll probably come up at some point, but I'm not going to tell you the lap time. I still have some of that problem. Some of it's still there, and it might be an Assetto Corsa thing where they just have not got this car right. But I've dropped the tyre pressures down to something that I would think is far more reasonable. At the moment, when I started, there was something like 39 psi, which is ridiculous. So I brought them down to a far better 32 psi, and I think it's 31 at the back and 32 at the front. I know what this car's capable of. I know what it should be doing. It's just now I've got to figure out, is it something that Assetto Corsa have done wrong with the car, or was it really those tyre pressures just causing the car to bounce around everywhere, not have any real grip, and then in turn the suspension responding really badly to that and just giving it an appearance of being really soft and bouncy. Obviously you'd be able to tell the difference if you were driving this car in real life. You'd be able to tell the difference between overinflated tyres and really soft suspension, because though they would both look the same, they would certainly... Nope. No. Still got a problem. I do not understand. I'm still on street tyres. I was going to try with street vintage tyres, but I'm just not... I'm not convinced. I'm just not convinced that this car is done correctly in Assetto Corsa. This is... It's strange, because it should be. This car should have... They really should have been looking at this car. I mean, it still has the categoric Audi understeer. That much is there. But it's supposed to be a shorter wheelbase than the original Quattro. This is the Sport Quattro, I think. Was a wheelbase 12.6 inches shorter? Something like that. It has more power. It has more torque. It's supposed to be... It has all these weird vents and everything. It looks more sportier. It is a small car. It should be fairly fast. Now, I'll tell you at the end of the first lap what lap time I got on the previous one, on the previous run. And you might be surprised. In fact, I think you probably will be surprised. This does feel better with dropped tire pressures. That's for sure. It isn't bouncing around too much now, but it is still bouncing. It's not. I'll be honest. This is not quite as poised as the RX-7 or anything like that. These are things that now I'm having to repeat. That's what I said in the previous video, or the video that is not seen. But this is not as poised as an RX-7 or a Skyline. And I did say, I mean, I now know what kind of lap times we're getting, but I did say that this would be vying for third place at the 8 minutes 15. That's what it looks like on paper. We'll find out how close that is, or how close we are to that, or you'll find out. I know how close it is, or maybe how close it isn't, depending on what you... I'm trying here to make sure that nobody really can tell what the lap time is going to be. Obviously this first lap is not correct, so do not worry about that. It's not going to be in the 9 minutes or 10 minutes. That much is for certain. We're already on a red lap time anyway. But you'll see what kind of lap time we get out of this, and you might be surprised, you might not be. Depends on what you put down. If you put down a 7-minute lap time, yes, you're going to be very surprised at what this got. And if you put a 10-minute lap time down, you'll also be surprised at what this got. So I can tell you now, it's between that range. In fact, I can probably be a little bit more precise. I can tell you now, it's within the 8 minutes. I'm just not going to tell you where within the 8 minutes. Not yet, anyway. This car does feel like it's more designed for rally. Obviously, I know it was the S1, Audi S1 Quattro, or Sport Quattro S1, which is obviously the race version of this particular car. Which is why I think this car was created. Because if I remember my history correctly, the problem with this car, or the problem with the original Quattro, was the longer wheelbase made it rather unwieldy in the tighter corners, and I think it also was a problem for high-speed corners. So they decided, well, if we make the Sports Quattro, shorten the wheelbase up, add some more power, sort a few things out, we might be able to fix that. Which is why you ended up with a car like this, and this car is tiny. It really is. When you look at it side on, it looks more like a hot hatch than an 80s coupe. Power delivery is really smooth, but that's what you expect, and that's what you get from a 5-cylinder. That's one of the benefits of a 5-cylinder. It's just an incredibly smooth power delivery. Same kind of thing as you get from a V10. Look at that. The car it's just bouncing away. I'm going to have to try anything with this car, really. Right, there's the estimated lap time. Let's see what we can do with that, shall we? I want to see if this gets better. I really do want to see if this gets better. If it does, I'm going to be pleased. If it doesn't, over what I had before, then I'm just going to have to take the lap time and say, well, sorry, that is what. It's gone again. I don't understand. I do not understand it. This car is supposed to be nimble, agile, responsive. It's none of that in here. It's like Assetto Corsa, the Kuno's just got the car completely wrong. But how can you have got a car so badly wrong? It doesn't make sense. It does not make any sense whatsoever. I'm going to keep trying anyway, because I'm really curious as to what is going on. very, very curious as to what's going on. And obviously by the third lap we should have something suitable. I'm hoping. Let's try and brake a bit early here. Understeer, 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 understeer. Crazy amounts of understeer there. It feels good up this compression. That's much is for certain. It feels great through that, and then straight after that, not so much. As you can see. It's great up to that, and then after that it's just like many no's. And I am genuinely trying with this car, and if anyone wants to say that I'm not trying with the car, I am genuinely trying with this car because I want an inline-5 to do well. I want the Audi Quattro to do well, but it's just not. If a car cannot work well without its assists, then you've got a problem. And this car at the moment, without ABS, I'm just not sure. In fact, I do not believe this has anything to do with my braking and ABS. It's just a problem. Taking every single thing I can into account, it just does not. It just doesn't want to do anything. It's like when it slows down, when you try to slow the car down, there is absolutely zero available grip. When you try to accelerate with the car, there is absolutely zero available grip in the lateral direction. And in fact, the same thing when you try to slow down, zero grip in the lateral direction. Hits a tiny bump and the car just gets thrown out. Doesn't seem to be the way of... That doesn't seem to be the Audi way. I've not known an Audi to respond like that. That doesn't seem like something Audi's supposed to do. I mean, sure, this lap's a write-off anyway. Whatever lap this is, second lap, yeah. Third lap's going to be the one to take, but I'm not liking the driving of this car in this title. Perhaps it might be that Kunos never ever managed to get the four-wheel drive physics right, and that leads to the car feeling like this. But I mean, the R34 Skyline's four-wheel drive, that feels fantastic. Really trying here. So 8 minutes 15 is completely out of the question. That much is for certain. And I hadn't read any reviews of this car before the last video recording I did of this car, because obviously I do not read the reviews, so that's how I've got a feel for the car myself, and I'm not just repeating what is in a review. Obviously that makes sense. I want to be able to review the car and not spew out what someone else has said and be biased by that and think, oh, I must be doing it wrong. However, after driving the car, I was so disappointed with it. I thought, you know what, I need to check the reviews on this because that does not seem right. So I did. And what I found was everybody is praising the Audi Sport Quattro, or the majority. You've got high praise for this car. This car's great like this car's great on B roads. For those people from America, B road is like a a side road, maybe like your routes, like Route 66 sort of style. I'm afraid I do not know any more of your routes, I just know historic Route 66, where the roads are twisty and windy and go up and down through the country. Obviously those in Europe, you've got plenty of country roads, back roads. I'm not sure what you would call them. Depending on your country, I suppose they'd be labelled different things. So, lots of people are like, yeah, this is perfect for B-roads, it works really well, it's nimble, it's agile, it has a wonderful whoosh of power, a lazy turbo, the engine is really smooth. Now, I feel the smoothness of the engine, I certainly feel the turbo. But in terms of the driving dynamic, just nothing. And I'm really trying here to get an understanding of this. Is it the way I'm driving the car? I say nothing. It's now that I've taken the tyres down, it is a lot better, but it's still not what I would expect. I would expect a lot more for a car that has such a status. It's like driving a Ferrari F40 and finding that it doesn't feel like an oversized go-kart. It just feels like a boat. That's the kind of disappointment in that. As I said, it's now better because I've dropped the pressure. I've dropped some air out of the tyres, or led some air out of the tyres, but I'm still surprised. I'm still surprised. And it's not the idea of this challenge is not to compare cars in Assetto Corsa, but the problem is if a car feels so far off and was so far off to start with, then you're kind of left with no choice. You have to compare it. So that is what I am unfortunately doing. Let's go for lap 3 and see what we can do. 8:34.1. The lap time that I got previously, by the way, was an 8:33.1. So if I cannot improve this particular lap, I'm taking the 8:33.1 that I got on a previous run. And normally I would say, but I'm confident I can improve. I'm actually not. It just does not seem to have the grip available to me to do such a thing, but I'm definitely trying. Okay, apparently now I'm in the 8:29s. What on earth happened there? Okay, I'll take it. I'm certainly going to take it. That's more like it. It's still sort of bouncing around in places. I'm not happy with the way it's bouncing at all. I'm trying to understand the four-wheel drive, the Quattro system here. Having driven is it only 2 four-wheel drive cars I've driven? The S1, no, the Macan was four-wheel drive. But having driven those four-wheel drive cars, I'm looking for... No, you don't. Come on, turn it a little bit better today. This time. You just really have to slow this car down. It doesn't want to turn. And that doesn't sound like the Quattro to me, you see. Come on, there you go. Much better. Much better. Good, keep going. Okay. I'm really pushing right now with this car. More than I've ever pushed with a car before, I think. Just to ensure that we do get as representative a lap time as I can find on here. good. So I find slowing the car down a lot more than you would expect does help. Now I've got to try and get this section right. If I mess this up, it's all over. So let's early on the brakes. There we go. Smooth in. I didn't even gain much. That was ridiculous. That's how slow I had to go through that. I did not actually gain anything. Come on, turn. Doesn't want to turn. Taking 2-3 bites at the corner at times, and that again, that doesn't sound like something I should be doing with this particular car, but it is. So there you go. Nevertheless, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable now. As I said, dropping the pressure out the tyres really did help, but it doesn't feel as stable as what everybody has described on the reviews. On the reviews, the way they've described this car, it doesn't feel like that in Assetto Corsa. So yeah. I guess that's just the way it goes. Go on, turn. Doesn't matter, keep going, just keep going. I'm taking that lap. Come on. Lost some time there, but it doesn't really matter. I'm trying to keep this at about 6 seconds. 6 seconds up. I want to try and get more than 6 seconds, but if I can get the 6 seconds up, I'll be fairly happy with that. Having to let off the accelerator still in places where I would not really think that I need to, because the car just doesn't want to hold, which is odd. Again, as I said, it's strange because it's a four-wheel drive car. You'd expect more grip than you're seeing with the car. No, come on, drag it around. So just. There you go. Go on. It's really difficult now. And I've noticed that the rear tyres do not seem to be warming up at all. There you go. Just completely missed the apex of that particular corner, which is going to cost me massive amounts of time all the way down here, because you cannot keep any speed up. So I'm going to try and gain back something around here if possible. No, nothing. God, this is in the fight now against the Miura and the Exige. It's nowhere near where I think it should have been, but you know what, that's okay. We want to see if it can beat the Miura and the Exige. So it's 8 minutes 29 dead to beat the Miura, I think. So let's see what we can do. Keep it in third. Fourth up there. Oh, that's going to cost me. Come on, that's it. Push it. There we go. Okay, so we could be a second faster than the Miura. Although the Miura felt massively better than this car. I'm not even sure where I'm going to put this on the I'm not even sure where I'm going to put this on the list, really. I was expecting a lot more from a car like this, and somebody lets me know, maybe you've driven a Quattro before, if you've been lucky enough to drive one. What is it like to drive? Because everyone says it's fantastic from what I can gather online, but in Assetto Corsa it's not been very good at all. So what is the idea of the Quattro, and how does it actually work? So that was 8 minutes 28.02. I'm going to take that lap time, I'm going to place it onto the board, which would put it not vying for third place as I thought it would, but that does put it in 5th place, about a second ahead of the Miura, so it's not out of the danger zone, because if I take the Miura out again, there is a distinct possibility that the Miura will be able to keep up with that and indeed match it and beat it. Similarly, the Exige is also not too far away, 1.6 seconds to the Exige, so it's certainly not clear. On the other hand, the Skyline, of which I know there are many seconds to be had, the Skyline and the Mazda are well clear of this car. So that's that. Interesting, very interesting as to where it managed to slot itself in. In terms of drivability, where would I put this car? I actually think that the S1 Quattro is a better car to drive than this one. So make of that what you will. I know I'm doing a 4th lap here, and it's actually a much faster lap, but I don't think I'm going to count this lap. I think the Audi S1 is a better drive, so where would I place this? This is around McCann territory, I suppose. It's got that kind of McCann feel, and that being said, it's kind of interesting to note that, because the McCann is supposed to be a modern car. It's an SUV, I know, but it's a modern car. It's supposed to have all these modern technologies, and yet I would say this car felt, or the McCann feels just as not quite as good as this car, or not quite as good as it should be. It feels just like, or very similar to this car, which is sad, because I was expecting this Audi to feel a lot better than it did. So I'm going to place it somewhere around the McCann. You'll see it up on your screen now. So that's on the bottom half of the board. So I think the Audi S1 then is in 10th position still on the driver engagement or drivability factor. It just doesn't. It's just, you cannot brake on this car. It's like the brakes are made out of paper mache or something at points, or the tyres are made out of paper mache. I don't know. See, a brake there, it's just that much on the brakes was locking it. It's huge. And I will be, of course, taking this car out again. Maybe I'll get better with it. Maybe I'll understand the car a little bit better and be able to drive it better, and it might move up the board. But at the moment, that's where it goes. Do I think the real car would go there? I actually do not think so. I think the real car would be better than what this car is. Something just does not feel right about this car. There you go. That is what we have. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa and the Nordschleife challenge. Leave a comment in the comments box below, letting me know what you think. Also, if you can do so, do consider supporting me on Patreon at www.patreon.com/ECGadget. Your support would be massively appreciated. It would really, really help me out. It ECGadget would allow me to start saving for a new steering setup. I'm looking towards the Fanatec's now. Nice and slowly. It will take me some time, so I need to save up so that I can purchase one of those. So if you want to help me, please do go check me out on Patreon. Also, you can find me on social media at ECGadget LP for both Twitter and Instagram. That is all from me, and I will see you next time in Assetto Corsa for another video on the Nordschleife challenge. And I think I know which car I'm going to be taking out next. So leave it in the comments box. Which one do you think? I already know which one I'm taking out. Which one do you think I'm going